Exploring cinema from every angle, this is BBC Two. We have a Moviedrome double bill on its way, with Donald Sutherland and Julie Christie in Don't Look Now at 11:40.
Next up, Nick Roeg's dazzling film that kick-started modern Australian cinema. Moviedrome goes Walkabout. You hear so many producers today talking about the perfect script. It has to be 90 pages. It has to have every detail in it. And when they say that, I always quote this film. It had 14 pages, and look at the film that resulted. The beginning of the story of Walkabout, I think, is one of the most shocking in the movies. A man takes his son and daughter out to the Australian outback as if to have a picnic, but he takes out a gun and tries to shoot them. The story came from a novel, Walkabout, published in the 50s by James Vance Marshall, and the story there is quite different. It's an American boy and girl rather than an English boy and girl, and instead of being taken to the outback by their father, they are in a plane crash, and that's where they land. I think this has a very big effect on the nature of the story. In the novel, it's an accident that starts the whole thing off. Here, it's something to do with the psychosis in the family. The man's going mad. We've had Nick Roeg films on Moviedrome many times, and that's because I think he's one of the great directors and one of the great British directors. Not incredibly well known abroad. If you go to France, they say, Nicolas Roeg, who is that? But their shame, they should know who he is. He started off as a cinematographer and shot Francois Truffaut's Fahrenheit 451 and Far From the Madding Crowd. Quite an innovative cinematographer. Then he got into filmmaking, and his first film he co-directed. It was Performance with Mick Jagger, and then this film, and then classics such as Don't Look Now, which is also in this run of Moviedrome. Nick Roeg tells a story that as a young apprentice in the film industry, he went into a cutting room and he noticed that you could play a piece of action forward but then reverse it, and he began to think of cinema as a kind of magic box which could reverse time. You could time travel. And you notice that in his best pictures, there is a kind of time travel. We see not only what the person is doing, but also what they will be doing in the future and what they're remembering and what they're fearing. And that's the great thing about some of his films. And we get it here sometimes. We get the whole profusion of what's inside someone's head, not just the simple fact of what they're doing. I think one of the great things about this film is that it's immensely cinematic. Its script apparently was only 14 pages long. There isn't all that much dialogue, and it relies on the cinematography to tell its story and also provide its mood. Roeg uses every type of lens you could imagine. Fish-eye lenses, telephoto lenses. Sometimes he freezes the images. Sometimes he blows them up massively for massive grainy effect. It really feels as if it's incredibly alive photographically. The daughter is played by 19-year-old Jenny Agata, fresh off The Railway Children. The son is played by Luke Roeg, Nick Roeg's real son, who went on to produce films himself. And the boy that they meet, the Aboriginal character, is played by David Gulpilil, who Roeg found in a real Aboriginal estate. And this changed the guy's life. He did lots of television thereafter and did films like Crocodile Dundee. I first saw this film in the late 70s, and I knew nothing really about cinema then, but I do remember the scene at the end of the picture where Jenny Agata swims naked in the pool, a very strong erotic effect that it had, I think, on a whole generation of boys at that time. What's interesting is when the film was re-released, they restored a full 5 minutes of those scenes, and so Roeg had seen that as a really big part of the film, whereas for us it was just a glimpse of something exciting. Nick Roeg has made so many great films. For me, my personal favourites are Eureka, Bad Timing and Don't Look Now. But this one I also cherish in a particular way because it's early in his career and because it affected me so much when I was a lad.